This is bad news for investors. We've been telling you for years that big Western countries want to raise your taxes, and now you've got a double whammy. Joe Biden in the US, Justin Trudeau in Canada, both coming to raise taxes on capital gains. I'm going to tell you what's happening and clear up one big misconception as well. Let's start in the United States. Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Joe Biden. The Biden proposal, headline, 44.6% capital gains tax rate. That is pretty much double where you're at now. Sounds to me like you might discourage a little bit of investment. That's kind of a separate topic, but just think of that for a second. If you're going to discourage people from investing, I know Warren Buffett thinks that people will invest no matter what the tax rate is. I'll tell you from my own personal life, I invest more in my business, I invest more in myself and my well-being, and I give more now that my tax rate is in the single digits, in the low single digits, compared to when it was 43%. So I am a walking, talking example of how people paying less in tax results in more reinvestment, more optimism, more philanthropy. And so what's that going to do to the country? That's a whole separate conversation. The momentum in the U.S. is in the wrong direction. But ever since Joe Biden was inaugurated, I told you this was going to be an issue. So we've been talking about this even before Biden was inaugurated. And so here's what they're doing. They want to raise the income tax rate back to the Bill Clinton rate that every Democrat seems to want to go back to, 39.6%. So on ordinary income, 39.6%. Then you add some of the investment levies. Now they want a new 1.2% surcharge on your short-term capital gains if you have more than $400,000 in investment income. So what some people are pushing back on is, well, who has that much in investment income? You could have a very successful business, make a lot of money, but not have a lot of investment income. This is for investors. If you have a lot of investment income, they're coming after you with this new surcharge. It's nickeling and diming. It's death by 1,000 cuts. By the way, you think the 1.2 will become 2.2, 3.2? That's how it goes, right? The camel's nose under the tent, as I like to say. If you earn, so that's that. So top rate, 44.6%. Admittedly, with that extra 1.2, that is, you are more of an investor. Or by the way, you sold a company, you had a big year in Bitcoin, you're cashing out some money to buy your dream house. Heck, you want to get a second passport with Nomad Capitalist. You just made millions in Bitcoin and or stocks or options or whatever. And you're going to cash out, and you're going to go get that shiny new Malta passport. You're going to go make the big top six-figure donation. And you got to sell some stuff. Well, suddenly now you're an investor, and you have that $400,000 in investment income. So that's one thing. Top rate, 44.6%. If you earn over $1 million separately, your long-term capital gains and dividends, they want to put that up to as much as 37%. So that is, that's almost doubling. You're not quite doubling it. So you're talking about if you have any kind of investment income, and if you make decent money, you're going to be between 37 and let's round up to 45%. Up from, during, let's look at the George W. Bush years, you were, was there even a 10% bracket? 15 to 20? You're talking about a big jump. And by the way, if you're an American, you can invest, as I do, in places that have tax-free capital gains, tax-free dividends like Singapore, but you don't get that, even if you move out of the country, because U.S. citizens are taxed no matter where they live, and things like the foreign earned income exclusion count earned income. You run a business. Americans who run businesses can easily move out of the country for the majority of the year, use the strategies that we've talked about here, and reduce to either zero or the single digits the amount of money they pay in their businesses. No can do if you want to move overseas. Puerto Rico is there. We've helped people move to Puerto Rico, but a lot of folks, they don't want to live in Puerto Rico. So as an American, your options are limited. If you're a Canadian, if you're Australian, you can just leave the country, end your tax residence, but keep your passport. The U.S. makes that much, much harder for investors. They give you one place, essentially, to go. And if you don't like that, well, you can just pay and pay and pay. And you will pay whatever they want. Don't say I didn't warn you. I've been talking about this for 11 years. So the criticism is it's being represented because it only affects the rich people. Yeah, that's kind of been my point for years. Being rich is out of vogue. You are the evil rich if you are investing in companies. You're investing in American companies, perhaps. You're investing in the S&P 500. You're putting money into the next great innovative American companies, and they still don't like you. the ball keeps moving. There's nothing you can do if you're a successful person in some of these countries that's ever going to satisfy these politicians. And this is the way the momentum is going. I don't care if Trump wins this year. It'll change for 4 years, then it'll change back. I mean, this 39.6%, it's basically been their rate of choice for 30 years. And so that's what's happening in the United States. Prepare for your dividends, your capital gains, your even the ones that are ordinary income, and the long-term ones could go up to the high 30s to mid 40s. You're giving it at some point close to half of your money on the investments that you made with the money that you saved, having already paid close to half on the income that you earned. And they're going to act like you're Warren Buffett or you're one of these carried interest guys. Maybe you're just somebody who sold a business. Maybe you're just someone, again, who invested early in crypto. Maybe you're just someone who invested in stocks and you did well. We had clients during the pandemic that got into trading stocks. Some of them did pretty well. They were making millions of dollars. Okay, listen, good for them, right? But no, not right. Same north of the border in Canada. Here's Justin Trudeau's proposal. Met with a few Canadians overseas the other day. Oh my goodness, we're escaping Justin Trudeau. He's terrible. I'm thinking of making Justin Trudeau the official sales manager of Nomad Capitalist. The job's open, Justin. Eventually, you're not going to have a, it's fun. We have an annual event, Nomad Capitalist Live. You get to come to Malaysia. We have a lot of fun things lined up. Hey, you could do worse. But here's his proposal. 1/3 increase in the CGT. Now, here's the misconception. And listen, I'm going to give you the straight scoop. Some people are making this sound worse than it is. So here's how it works in Canada. I do not have personal experience in Canada, but we've helped many Canadian clients. This is if you make more than 250,000 Canadian. Below that does not change. That's their new thing. 250, 400,000. You're a good person. You make more, you're a bad person. So the deal on capital gains has basically been 50% of the gain is subject to the regular tax. If you're one of these nasty, disgusting pigs feeding at the trough with your more than 250,000 Canadian dollar income, yours is now going to be basically a 66.6% inclusion. That's not a 66.6% rate. So let's say you are the disgusting vermin making over that income, and you sell a stock and you make $30,000. Under this new system, $20,000 will be taxable at the rate. Now, they've got kind of two levers here. There's the inclusion rate, and then there's the tax rate. So they've got a couple levers they can move, and we know politicians like the sleight of hand. So it's not that the gain is $20,000 on the $30,000. It's that $20,000 of the gain is taxable. $15,000 used to be taxable. Now, Justin Trudeau, empathetic as always, says, quote unquote, I understand for some people this may cost more if they sell a cottage or a secondary residence because this is going to include capital gains made not on your primary home. So, okay, it was fair play to Canada. They're a little bit more flexible than the U.S. on that. It's a little easier, I think, in Canada, in my opinion. But on secondary residences, you're going to be taxed. And you're going to apply, if you're making more than 250, then you're going to have this new 66.6% inclusion rate against the income tax. So he says, if you sell your cottage or secondary residence, hey, you're going to pay more. But young people can't pay their primary residences yet, said Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Now, Justin Trudeau and all of his acolytes and all of his followers, they seem to think that Justin Trudeau and all of his friends who are in power in the U.S. and other places around the world, they have nothing to do with the fact that they have created anti-business policies that someone like me and me and my 82 people working with me are not moving the needle, but enough of us, we move the needle. Enough businesses are setting up shop overseas. More businesses are being started overseas. Fewer people are moving from where I spend part of my year in Asia, where Nomad Capitalist Live is. Nobody in Malaysia wants to move to the United States. Those people are increasingly staying at home and they're building businesses there. So you have less going on to where wages aren't going up much. You think wages in the places that I live are going up? I hire overseas. Believe me, wages are going up. In the places where I live, believe me, wages are going up. They're not so much going up in Canada. And so maybe Justin Trudeau should evaluate what he's done and what people like him have done. Maybe they should evaluate all the money they printed. Maybe they should evaluate the inflation. They like to blame that on you, the evil rich guy, but did you create inflation? Did you make the country's I guess if you voted for Justin Trudeau's party, you did. But Okay, you're a nasty person with a cottage, and now you're going to pay more because Justin Trudeau can't take responsibility. None of them can take responsibility for the fact that their malfeasance, their mismanagement, their stupidity has created a condition where, yeah, it's harder to get ahead these days. I mean, we have clients who come from Egypt, who come from Brazil, who come from Colombia, who come from Vietnam, who've built huge multi-million and even centimillion-dollar companies. If they can do it, I'd like to think somebody in Alberta could do it, but Justin Trudeau's he's doing the hardest he can to stop you. The government said the change will affect the wealthiest, I love this part so much, the wealthiest 0.13%. Listen, we're just robbing 0.13%. Yeah, just 13 out of every 1,000 people, just pop them in the head. It's only 0.13%. I mean, we can afford to lose it. Wait a second. 0.13. I went to public school. Would that be so? 1% would be 10 out of 13 out of 10,000 people. I'm sorry. And about 12% of Canada's corporations, because your corporation is going to pay more also, as well as Canadians with an average income of $1.42 million. So if you make 1.42, you're just left for dead. Sorry. So here's the problems. There are some high-tax countries in the world where everyone just pays because they get stuff. Like if you're in the U.S., what do you get for all this money? Do they take care of your health care? Do they evacuate you from when you're on a holiday during COVID? Do they do anything for you really? No, they don't. You paid into Social Security, and now even the Republicans want to take that away from you. What you paid into, it's supposed to be a program you pay into and then you collect later. Now they want to take that away. Even the good politicians. So there are countries where, hey, everybody pays. They're kind of truly in it together. There's 5 million people in our Nordic country and we all pay a lot and we get something for it. I think especially the English-speaking countries, and I think especially US, Canada, to some extent Australia, it's only the rich that pay. Don't worry, it's only the top 0.13%, it's only 12%, it's only this guy over here, it's only that. And the goal is, hey, vote for me because you're not affected. But I'll take that and I'll give you more stuff because my terrible policies have hurt you, but no, it's actually him. It's the ultimate in class warfare. Come to one of our client dinner parties. We just had one. We're having one coming up actually with the former president of Mexico. Great client dinner party in Mexico City. You talk to some of the clients that come to those. They want other people to be successful. They want people to thrive. That's what Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden and who's that guy in Australia with Albania, what's his name? They don't want you to think, they don't want the average person to think that people want other people to be successful. Listen, I hope more people are successful because we work with folks who have $1 million or more liquid assets. So the more people who have $1 million or more, the more clients for Nomad Capitalist. I'm not here to hold people down, but they like to think that we would. And so everyone's using services, but they're rich. It's not at dangerous levels perhaps yet. I want to know how long before it gets to dangerous levels where people are coming at you with pitchforks because of the rhetoric of some of these politicians. Everyone's using the services, and yet the pitch is, hey, you don't have to pay. Let those terrible rich people pay, as if they created all the problems. And so if you're renouncing your citizenship, that's what you do in the U.S. If you're an investor, you can move to Puerto Rico, or you can renounce your U.S. citizenship. Those are kind of the two big ways to reduce capital gains, non-business, passive income. Everybody else, you can go overseas. You can become a tax non-resident. We help people figure out from Canada, from Australia, from all kinds of other countries. We've got a network of experts. We help you leave one country, move to the next. Maybe you need a passport to protect yourself in case Justin really gets out of control. Maybe you want some asset protection plans. Maybe you want banks around the world. We do it all under one roof. I think we do it better than anybody. And we help make sure you do that in a legally compliant way because it's not as easy as you might think. But here's the problem. If you are building up investments now, the longer you wait to leave, the bigger the exit tax in many countries will be. Because you can't just leave and take what you've built up with you. You've got to pay a tax whether you sell the assets or not in many cases. And so whether you have crypto, whether you have stocks, whether you have a company, the value of those may be going up on any given day. The companies are sometimes the worst because your company has an enterprise value at some point where unless you're going to sell your company or borrow against it or sell a chunk of it, how are you going to pay that bill to leave? And so the higher these capital gains taxes get, the harder it gets to leave. Because if your assets are going up in value and the taxes are going up in value, then that just becomes a more difficult situation. So the easiest thing to do is the sooner that you leave, or when you think your assets are worth the least, that's when you go. And if you owe them a pound of flesh for the privilege of having lived in their country, then you pay that, and then you escape to freedom. We've helped clients move to 31 different tax-friendly countries and a couple of non-tax-friendly countries because somebody's wife wanted to live there, for example. You can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and learn how we help people do that. If you want them to avoid coming for you, you nasty, disgusting rich person, you can go offshore, and I promise you, I'm always convincing people. There are countries where they're like, yeah, please, we'd like some capital. We need some money in this joint. Please, bring your money over here. Bring your business. We want you. Go where you're treated best. Go where you're celebrated, not just tolerated. I don't think in Biden's United States, or anybody's United States, quite frankly, I don't, even for Republicans in charge, I don't think that you're celebrated for building a business, nor in Justin Trudeau's Canada. You can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn how we can help you. We'd be happy to do that. But it sounds like if these things get pushed through, your investments are going to be taxed more heavily because you can afford it. So why not?